Russiagate is back, and it's better than ever. I'm so excited. I missed it. Honestly, we really only got a taste of roughly 4 years of Russiagate that all collapsed in a hilarious cloud of bullshittery. And I definitely mixed my metaphors because it can't be collapsing in a cloud. I guess clouds could collapse. The Biden administration announced a sweeping set of actions to tackle major, this is CNN right here, major Russian government-backed effort to influence the 2024 U.S. election, such as putting out some tweets, including unveiling criminal charges against 2 Russian nationals, sanctions on 10 individuals and entities, and the seizure of 32 internet domains. This is different than the 32 seizures that Joe Biden has had recently. At Russian President Vladimir Putin's direction, 3 Russian companies used fake at Putin's direction, as if as if CNN and the Justice Department know what Putin directs and doesn't direct. I guarantee you there is no way. They always just say that at Putin's direction. That was one of their big things in the last Russiagate that all collapsed was Putin told them to do it. And they had no evidence that Putin told them to do that. But we'll ignore that for the moment. 3 Russian companies used fake profiles to promote false narratives on social media as opposed to CNN that always promotes true narratives, right? Right. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said in a statement, internal documents produced by one of those Russian companies show one of the goals of the propaganda effort was to boost the candidacy of Donald Trump or whoever emerged as the Republican nominee. Before I get into all the details of this, let me start off by saying it's well known, and you've probably heard this quote before. It's a well-known quote. The Justice Department could indict a ham sandwich. An indictment doesn't mean anything. I'm not saying this one doesn't mean anything, but I'm just saying, hearing that there was a Justice Department indictment, they had an indictment against Julian Assange for being a journalist. So hearing that there's an indictment means essentially nothing. And as I put on the lower third ticker there, Justice Department did indict a Russian-backed ham sandwich named Hamas Sandanovich. Also, before I get into the details about Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and all the rest, I also wanted to just remind everyone that we're hearing about this from the same media outlets and the same Justice Department, essentially, that gave you Russiagate for 4 years. And because I covered this and trashed it and tore it apart day after day after day for 4 years, I find it a little, it feels redundant to go through any of it again. But I thought I'd give a quick 30-second refresher about the core of Russiagate. Not every detail, but the core of Russiagate, that all was utter bullshit and all collapsed on their heads in a hilarious fashion. Okay, there was the Steele dossier about how Trump, was captured by Russia. It's all been proven completely false. They honestly, internally, I don't even think they thought it was anything more than just bullshit designed to make it difficult for Donald Trump. Now, here's the thing. I hate Donald Trump. He's a horrible, horrible human being. Absolute shit-stain human being. But I don't think there should be fake Justice Department documents or dossiers. And I want truth. I want truth no matter what. Then another one of the main tenets of Russiagate was the hacking of the DNC, right? Which was where they got the internal emails that were all true and all revealed corruption by Bill Clinton, some by the Obama administration, some by Hillary Clinton, etc. We learned, if you actually followed the day by day, which the media did not want you to do, that the whole idea of hacking the DNC, that Russia hacked the DNC, was all debunked. It was a leak from inside the DNC. We know for certainty. We don't know where that leak came from for certainty, but a lot of people theorize that it was. But I'm just saying, we don't know, but we know it was a leak, which means that's not Russia. That's a DNC employee. Then there was the influence operation, right, online via Facebook and via Twitter and everything. And we knew that influence campaign was also bullshit. The Internet Research Agency that's in St. Petersburg, Russia, if you look at the things they posted, they don't actually show any coherent message as to support Trump or don't support Trump. Also, 53, I can't remember if it was 53 or 56% of them, but more than half appeared after the election. So tough to influence an election afterwards. then you've got the fact that most of those posts, $3 was spent on them, which if you know anything about Facebook advertising, $3 spent on a post gets it seen by one half of a dog somewhere in Poughkeepsie. So absolutely meaningless. And they indict a bunch of these people, but they ultimately had to drop the indictments because they didn't have anything on them. All of it collapses. Then another thing was the Russian bot army. That was another one of the big things that was the Russiagate, and that's been proven false as well. New York Times and MSNBC, they were all constantly promoting Hamilton 68 as, oh, Russian bots want this or want that. It's like, it was like a Ouija board. The Russian bots want you to believe. And it all collapsed. There was no Hamilton 68 was bullshit. The Russian bots were bullshit. All collapses. Here they are again saying that, oh, no, Russian influence operation, we figured it out. They're trying to do A, B, and C. And even if it were true, these are the people you should least believe on any of this garbage. Like, it is literally people who spent 4 years telling you day after day after day utter bullshit about this topic. And now here they are saying, oh, no, we got it right this time. Now here it is again. We know exactly what Russia wants, and they want this, and they're going out and they paid off these people. And I think if you're going to get this information like this about Russian influence, it should come from any other source than the ones that have been lying to you for 4 years. It's really more than 4 years now on this topic. Some of you may know RT is a TV channel that I used to work for. Now, I used to work for the American TV channel. It is now gone. It was shuttered 2 years ago. So I have not worked for in any shape, way, or form RT in over 2 years. But I had a show Redacted Tonight with RT America for 8 years, weekly show. And, you know, we were hugely popular despite all of the suppression we faced. And then ultimately they banned our YouTube around the world. And to this day, it's banned around the world. So I know a little something about RT, but I do not know either of the people that they're talking about. I assume these RT International people, because RT America is no more. This article says the RT staffers named in the indictment are Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Offensiva. They've been charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. They're accused of funneling nearly $10 million to an unnamed Tennessee company that contracted with online influencers with big audiences. Attorney General says the company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. So they say outright that these influencers did not know that they were being paid by RT, which very well could be true. Now, the amounts of money are pretty insane. They say that one of these influencers was getting $400,000 a month. The media company that's not named in the indictment is, everyone has decided, and it seems very true, is definitely Tent Media, T-E-N-E-T Media, which was founded in 2022, but I think they didn't start actually putting up pieces till 2023, maybe. But anyway, founded in 2022 by Lauren Chin, a conservative Canadian YouTuber who I've never heard of, but apparently she's on Glenn Beck's Blaze TV, and Liam Donovan, her husband. She's also a contributor to the right-wing activist group Turning Point USA. She also wrote some pieces for RT in 2021 and 2022. According to the indictment, the Tennessee's company's founders worked with the two RT employees to recruit influencers and trick them into not knowing they were being paid by Russia. But this is Andrew Weissman, who says the new DOJ charging documents raise a curious question. DOJ charges two lower-level employees of a Russian front company. That's Lauren Chin. But despite providing chapter and verse about the complicity of the two founders of that company, the founders are not charged. And he says his suspicion is the founders were charged a while ago under seal and were flipped and are now cooperating with the Justice Department. That's why they're not charged. So you have the founders getting away with doing this while the lower level people are the ones that are now getting charged, which is pretty fucked up to begin with. So the people that have worked for this company apparently are Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, for Tenant Media, I guess, Benny Johnson and Laura Southern. I want to reiterate that it doesn't mean, like, I don't have to like these people for me to think that this is wrong in multiple ways. You're supposed to be, in the United States of America, entitled to freedom of speech. It actually is not supposed to matter who's paying you. Working at RT America, which I did until 2 years ago, was not illegal and technically should still not be illegal. Like, you should be allowed to work at a media company. It doesn't really matter whether you're in the United States or not. I was never told what to say. I never told you have to say this. I never was, nothing I ever said was censored. I had different viewpoints than most of the people on RT on certain areas, such as like climate crisis and stuff. So, and was never told not to say that. So it should not be illegal to work for a media company. It doesn't matter whether you're American. It doesn't matter whether the company is. Many people in the U.S. work for BBC. Many people in the U.S. work for CBC. Many people in the U.S. work for CGTN. Many people in the U.S. used to work for Telesur until those sanctions made that illegal. So the U.S. is just trying to crush all of the media organizations that are not aligned with U.S. empire. And they're also trying to crush any YouTubers that are not aligned with U.S. empire. Now, I get that for the most part, Tim Pool and Dave Rubin, like, they're not really anti-U.S. empire. They're just, I think they're anti maybe war in Ukraine or something. But much like Tucker Carlson, they seem to have no qualms with the U.S. like owning the world. Here's Dave Rubin's statement on it. He says, these allegations clearly show that I and other commentators were victims of the scheme. I knew absolutely nothing about any of this fraudulent activity. People of the internet was a silly show. I guess they mentioned this show, People of the Internet. Silly show covering viral videos, which ended 4 months ago. The DOJ never contacted me regarding this matter, and I have no intention to comment further. Then he points to a part of the indictment that says that a fake funder of this media organization was made up to trick these people into thinking it was not Russians funding it. Tim Bull says, should these allegations prove true, I, as well as the other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. I cannot speak to anyone else at the company. The Culture War podcast was licensed by Tenet Media. It existed well before any license agreement with Tenet, and it will continue to exist. The only change with the agreement was probably the amount of money coming in. I'll tell you that much. The only change with the agreement was the location of the live broadcast moved to Tenet's YouTube channel. Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control. The show is produced in its entirety by our local team. Anyway, then he decides to throw in Putin is a scumbag. Russia sucks donkey balls, in case anyone was wondering. But if that was the thing that, like, if that's him proving that Russia never told him what to say, I guess he should have said it before the indictment rather than after. But I don't know whether he did. I don't watch enough Tim Pool to know whether he says that kind of thing on a regular basis. But anyway, I think I've made my point that taking money to say something specific, not to give in a topic, because I had my show at RT. I wrote a few things for RT, the website. This is, again, over 2 years ago, before all these sanctions came down, before, they were sanctioning these things. So now they're making it arrestable to work for RT. So this is way before that. But I used to also occasionally write an article for RT, their website. And when I would do that, as is the case with every outlet that's ever existed, they might give me a topic. They'd say, like, hey, can you write about the election in America that's coming up? Hey, can you write about, the banking collapse or whatever? That wasn't one of them, but I'm just throwing out topics. But they weren't ever telling me my angle or telling me what I had to say. And, that continues with the work I do now. I write articles sometimes. Rarely do I write articles anymore, but sometimes I write articles for someone. And they'll often give me a topic. If I didn't want to talk about the topic, I wouldn't cover it. But there's a difference between that and being told this is what you have to say. And that is not illegal. None of that should be illegal. We should have freedom of speech. And I may not agree with whatever percentage, I don't know if it's 90% or 99% of what Tim Pool or Dave Rubin say, but you should still support freedom of speech, or else what are we fucking doing here, folks? What is this? Like, if I were to just only want freedom of speech for the people I agree with, then, man, am I setting myself up to be attacked and imprisoned one day. Oh, well, I only thought it was wrong when it wasn't me doing it. So I hope that if this shit comes after me, I hope you'll defend me when the time comes. Here is what the indictment says that these people were told to disseminate. Campaign topics: encroaching universal poverty. Boy, you really have to be told if you're talking about political issues in the U.S. You really have to be told to talk about poverty, right? It takes Russia for American citizens to notice poverty. Record inflation. Wow, none of our mainstream media talks about that at all. Halting of economic growth, unaffordable prices for food and essential goods, risk of job loss for white Americans. I don't know why they have to make it racial, but but so a lot of these are just like Fox News talking points, privileges for people of color, perverts and disabled. This just sounds like this could be a Fox News memo, honestly. Like, explain to me how this is different from what Fox News is telling their anchors to talk about. But okay, I also wanted to get to the Foreign Agent Registration Act and how stupid it is for a couple of minutes. So until 2016, when they made RT, and I still worked there then, but they made RT, the company, register as a foreign agent, not journalists that worked there, but they made the company register as a foreign agent. It had never been used against a media agency before, because the idea of the Foreign Agent Registration Act, when it was created, was to make lobbyists, people that actually go and like meet with government officials and say, you need to do A, B, and C. They had to announce that they were working for and being paid by a foreign government. That was what it was designed for. Then in 2016, they go, oh, no, you know what? Now, if you're just talking on a TV or on the internet, you now count as like a lobbyist for a foreign government, which is insane. And of course, goes after all kinds of freedom of speech. So they make RT register. Then RT's press passes are all taken away. I wasn't using mine anyway. So like I wasn't going on to Capitol Hill anyway. So it didn't matter for me. It wasn't until these past 2 years that they decided to start indicting and arresting people for working for a media agency, which again, wildly fucked up and wildly anti-free speech. Here is some of what the Foreign Agent Registration Act says. And many lawyers have looked into this and have said the Farah Act is so broad that you could indict just about anyone who has anything to do with another country. An agent is an individual or entity that acts, quote, within the United States at the order, request, direction, or control of either. So could even be request, which again could apply for, hey, can you write an article about how the U.S. Attempted to coup Venezuela, which is something I talk about all the time anyway, right? And okay, sure, I'll write a topic on the thing I always talk about. Oh, now, well, because that was BBC, a British media company, you're now a foreign agent for BBC because you wrote an article on this U.S. thing. Now, of course, they never go after people that are allies because that doesn't count as foreign agency. Only when it's someone we want to go after does it count. To continue, they say, or control of either a foreign principal or a person, any of whose activities are directly or indirectly supervised, directed, controlled, financed, or subsidized in whole or in major part by a foreign principal. An individual or entity can become an agent even without a contractual relationship or formal agreement with a foreign principal. It says if you engage in political activities are activities intended to any way influence. So me speaking to you, anyone who speaks to someone wants to have some kind of influence, right? Any influence, either an agency or official of the government of the United States or any section of the public within the United States, anyone in the United States. If you're a Chinese citizen who's also an American citizen, which we have a lot of dual citizens in this country, and you walk up to someone and say, man, there's too much litter in this town. Okay, you have just committed an act of foreign agency. The political or public interest, policies, or relations of a government of a foreign country, foreign political party. It covers lobbying, political relations activities, even tourism promotion. Now, think about everything that could apply to what I've just been saying. Of course, Israel. Israel is at the top of this list, right? Israel has giant lobbies in the United States and literally funds political campaigns. They spent, AIPAC is the foreign lobbying arm. They used to have Zionism in the name. They changed their name. They have bragged about spending $100 million on this latest election. They have also bragged that like 90% of the time when they fund a candidate, they win. So they've bragged about manipulating US election. That is the most cut and dry foreign agent registry act violator you've ever seen in your life. That is to the letter, to the T, a foreign agent influencing elections. Then think about all the other countries. Saudi Arabia has ads in the United States. UAE is it UAE or Dubai, or maybe it's Dubai that's funding a lot of the US Open tennis tournament right now. There are just blatant examples of commercials like trying to influence the American people that it does not count for some odd reason. But also the way this law is described, it could also apply to Toyota, the company, Shell Oil, BP, any of these companies that are technically connected to another country or based in another country are foreign nationals directing influence on our government. I mean, think about all the influence that these big oil companies, that big banks in other countries have on the US, Deutsche Bank or something. Think of all of the massive influence. Monsanto, one of the most criminal organizations in the US, is now owned by Bayer, a German company. So Bayer, think about the influence that Bayer Pharma has and Monsanto have on the US government. So this law is a bullshit law that is used by our fascist state to go after enemies. They can basically indict anyone. They can go after anyone. And again, it doesn't matter if I dislike or disagree with some of the people they're going after. That's not really the point. I mean, actually, most of the ones they're going after, like Richard Medhurst, and well, that's UK, but still, and Scott Ritter, are people that I largely agree with, and going after them. It is the U.S. becoming a fascist state. It really is. There's no other way to describe it. This law can be used to just go after anyone. It's just totally revolting. And anyway,